had somebody who like listens to our content and participates in our stuff mainly through like my social media, who's a father, message me asking if I had ever heard of rapper Lil Darkie. Instantly a red flag, thought that was very problematic. This has led me to do a bunch of research, which I will be presenting to the class. And then I will be asking questions, because this isn't really about this rapper in terms of regionalism. He's from LA, but more so a question about like parenting and how you feel about the use of race in this situation. So Lil Darkie, 23, from LA. Apparently his sound is a little bit like Lil Pump and XXXTentacion. His real name is Joshua Hamilton. He's mixed race, Indian American, and I do not know if they're being politically correct and if they mean Indian as in India, or if they are not using the word Native or Aboriginal. He's also, I forget if I already said this, sorry, mixed race and bisexual. And essentially I shared with you in our group chat the caricature that he's drawn as his rapper persona, which to me looks very much like minstrel, blackface, the salt and pepper shakers that I have had to discard from my show and tell weeks prior, and does not look like a good representation of Black people. So when asked about that, he claims that the character came after an intense acid trip in which he glimpsed at himself in the mirror and saw all of the color drain from his skin. He says any resemblance to any racist caricature is a coincidence and not intentional, and essentially claims that, like, how could you look at that caricature and see like a Black person or anything racist, and then basically saying, if you think that's what a Black person looks like, I think you are the racist one. You have been brainwashed. That's why I'm doing this. A lot of his art features that Black caricature doing some horrible things. So for instance, his like hit songs include Holocaust, Genocide, and Drink My Piss You Nasty Slut. And in the cover art for Holocaust, it's like the Black caricature dressed as little Nazi soldiers with swastika armbands. And so then people stopped playing some of his music and like allowing it on some of the streaming sites because the art was considered disturbing. To which he said, plenty of art is offensive. That doesn't mean it should be censored. I shouldn't have to water down or censor my perspective just to stay on a website. That's when he then cites being mixed race Indian American, but that he doesn't identify with any particular race, saying that race is not real, which he tweeted early in January of this year, followed by, fuck you, shut up. I'm really fucking tired of it. So basically, after doing like a very mild amount of research, the gentleman who was like, have you heard about this, sort of was like, I have taken away my child's like phone. I don't want them to listening to this stuff. Like, I think that this is really disturbing, not only the use of the word darkie, but also the like titles of the songs. Did listen to the song Holocaust. It doesn't, I think, ever actually reference genocide. It's sort of more like a weird theme and not outrightly explicit. So I'm presenting this to the two of you. I guess my first question for either one of you, after looking at the caricature but hearing that he's Indian American and all of this stuff, would you as Black men take issue or find it offensive, or do you think it is art? Do you think it's offensive art? Fidel, do you want to go first?
I mean, I had to research this kid. I looked up a couple of interviews, and he studied film, and he quit college because he said he learned everything he needed about film, and he didn't need to go to school anymore. And I worked in the music industry. I see what's happening. This kid knows exactly what he's doing. He is pushing buttons, and he is trying to put edges to get attention. I am not I'm not against it, to be honest with you, because Odd Future did this, Eminem did this, everybody has done this. uh, to get attention, especially if you're an independent artist and you're trying to get clout. I think this is all programmed. This is not made up. This is not coincidence. This is definitely a stunt. Uh, it sounds like a stunt. It seems like a stunt, and he's trying to get attention. And again, they say any publicity is good publicity. I would say, because if he wasn't doing that, we wouldn't be talking about him. So again, I think two things. One, this is not for me. His audience is not me. It's definitely not what I will listen to, even if he was little Whitey or little whatever or little whatever. It's definitely not for me. So I definitely would say he knows what he's doing. It's definitely a publicity stunt. He's trying to get in the mainstream, or he's trying to get popular and live out of art. And he's that's his strategy. Would the kids like it or not? Honestly, I don't know. I mean, if you look at Takashi 69, I'm not a Takashi 69 fan. I wouldn't listen to his music, but unfortunately, he got away and he is popular. Whatever the means are, he got popular. So that's all I got to say on it. It's entertainment, and it's if we again, I could see why people would find it offensive, but I also think you're baiting. It's like you're going fishing. He launched the bait and you're picking on it, and it's working. So I can't hate because of something that he did is working. So I really can't hate on the kid because unfortunately he knows what he's doing and we're talking about him.
Clinton.
Yeah, I take a lot of the similar views as Fidel there. And the only thing I've heard so far that I agree with is his comment that race isn't real. Now, race isn't real, but culture certainly is real. And he is very aware of what he's doing. He's using terms like Holocaust, but maybe not referencing the Holocaust. He's having songs about genocide, and he's having something that is very clearly minstrel-based blackface looking as a mixed person, but not from a notably traditionally Black timeline. And he's putting it out there. And, it's for the clout. Like you just mentioned 6ix9ine. That's exactly what I was going to say. Like this kid obviously falls from the line. He's like one of 6ix9ine's kids, one of his sons, right? He probably grew up on him, and he's emulating that kind of shock value style. Now, I've never heard his music before, but I imagine he's not as good as the attention that is surrounding him at the moment. And you know what? Because of this conversation, I'm going to give him a couple spins and earn him a penny, which is what everyone else is doing. And that's going to make him money. Like he's clearly very aware of what he's doing, and he's utilizing that to get attention in an oversaturated market where it's next to impossible to get any attention to begin with. This comment he made about art to me is ridiculous. Like just because something is shocking or offensive, that doesn't make it artistic. And just because you go out there and throw the word art on it, it doesn't validate what you're doing. So all in all, we are giving this kid some attention, and that's what he wants. I'm very curious to hear what he sounds like now, which sucks, but that's the way the human mind works. That's the way our brains are hardwired. And as Fidel said, he is aware of that. So, you can be intelligent and be a complete asshole. And I think that's what he's doing. He's capitalizing on something he knows is going to create a lot of feedback, create a lot of discussion and racial tension, and it's all going to be centered around him. And in the end, he's going to get the bag, regardless of who he gets angry, who supports him. And he's also going to have a huge demographic of people that like that. They like that. I'm not going to call these people sick. And when I say this word, I don't mean they're sick, but I mean sick kind of content, anarchy, death, drama, violence. It's almost like a heavy metal theme. And again, heavy metal's not all of that either. There's some real deep content in heavy metal music, but just stereotypically, that's what he's going for. And it's working for him. He'll make some money. I don't know how long his career is going to be. And then he'll do something else. But last point, to say that he was not aware of how offensive it was going to be is a complete bullshit. Complete, absolute bullshit.
I do want to throw out the question to both of you as well. And Clinton, I'll just start with you because all of this, like, I have never heard of this person. It wasn't even like a TikTok trend. It straight up just came to me because of this dad. You're both dads. You both have children. You find little Darkie in their phones and you do the research that I did. I'm just curious what your approach is. And I guess I'm interested because I was asked about this as like a Black person close to this white dad who wanted to know how offensive, first of all, being called little Darkie was, and then obviously my feelings about if this is a Black person having these type of song titles before even knowing what the music sounds like or is about. So being Black dads, does that change your approach to seeing the title little Darkie in your kid's phone and wondering if they're exploring their Blackness, or do you get on the defensive and want to still shield them from that type of content, or do you go off and you listen to it and then you decide? Clinton, go first.
I'd ask about who he was. I wouldn't make a snap decision like that. I'd ask about who he was, get some context, some reference, listen to the music maybe a little bit, and depending like what age is my kid? Like, are we talking about my 5-year-old or my 21-year-old or my 16-year-old? Right?
More like your 16-year-old. I'm pretty sure the actual child in question is like young teen.
It's a hard decision that I have to ask myself a lot, because even like my 11-year-old, right, she has a phone. It's a weird generation, because you can put all kinds of restrictive blocks on your kids' phones if you want, and at the end of the day you try to trust them, but they have phones and all their friends have phones, so they have sleepovers at their friend's house. And I remember when I was 6 or 7 going to my friend's house and watching a horror movie, and I wasn't allowed to watch horror movies, so you can only stop them so much. I think what is best to have contextual conversations with your kids about these things to help them better process what they are viewing. I wouldn't just quickly shut it down and tell a 16-year-old you can't listen to that, because if I tried to censor what my 16-year-old was looking at, I mean, you'd have to just take away the phone and the internet. There would be nothing they could look at in 2021 that wouldn't be concerning in some way. You do have to, with parenting, you do have to approach every situation with a grain of salt. Just seeing the name wouldn't be enough for me to like put my foot down and be no, and wouldn't even necessarily try to completely shut it out. But like, if a kid was going to make the choice to, and I can't see them doing that, listen to this kind of a rapper, make sure they listen to it with some context and know my opinion that this person is just doing this for the money. Like, this person is full of shit. They're just doing it for the money. They're intentionally trying to cause turmoil and drama and stir up a bunch of commotion because they want to get paid. That's the context I'd put it in for a 16-year-old.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think that's some of the context that maybe, not to ascribe but like maybe white parents are missing that sort of lens of how we see when words like that are being thrown around. Fidel, what about you?
I would say talk to your kids. Definitely talk to your kids, because I mean, first of all, my kids are sick, so no. My kids are like, my kids cannot listen to that right now because they're sick. I mean, my kids is just, one of them is just getting into video games, and I mean, I'm even careful with that. What type of video games it goes. But again, talk to your children. Talk to your children, see what it's like, have a conversation. Because again, I think this is not for you. I had to learn this with Space Jam. I was watching Space Jam with my kids. I hated the Space Jam movie, the new one with LeBron James. But I was thinking, wait a minute, the first one wasn't great either. It wasn't a great movie. It wasn't like it was better, but it was for me because I was a Michael Jordan fan and I was a little kid and I used to listen to Chicago Bulls. But this one's not for me. It's not for me. It's for my kids. So I have to talk to my kids. My kid loves LeBron James now, right? I'm not a LeBron James fan, but it's, again, not for me. So talk to your kids, because whatever he's serving, it's not for you. He knows who he's serving it with, and he knows who he's targeting. So talk to your kids about it, and then you can come up to your own conclusion.
Awesome. That was all I really had this week. I was just very surprised that this topic just fell into my lap, and I thought it was worth a discussion.
Also, people, like, come on, Eminem, Odd Future, Tyler the Creator, like, we've seen this so many times, and we don't. We see
not
them,
just in rap.
in everything.
Pop
Ozzy
music.
Os-
Look at
Ozzy
Madonna.
Osbourne.
Look at Katy Perry.
Yeah,
When the
like,
song "I Kissed a Girl and I Liked It" came out, the world shut down for a while, and now it's normal, right? And now art does push new boundaries. Our art does, like comedy, and we're not going to drop Dave Chappelle here. It does force conversation. I know I just did. It does force conversations that people aren't comfortable having, and that bar keeps getting set higher and higher and higher. Like, look at South Park or Family Guy from the 90s. Like, you'd have people protesting in the streets trying to shut that down, and now that's considered tame by some of the adult cartoons you see coming out nowadays. Yeah, so sorry to cut you off, Fidel. It's not just pop, it's pop culture and it's music. And you want to finish your thought, Fidel? It's these guys
it's show business.
He's not the first or the last.
Yeah, it's not gonna be the first or the last. I mean, we've seen this time and time and over again. And again, to the common eye that just wants to be entertained, he would be shock value. But to somebody that has worked in the industry, would know that there are hundreds of thousands of artists coming out every year, and you need to come out sometime with something. And unfortunately, whatever your stick is, you will follow that's just the name of the game.
I think that, and I'm trying to put myself in the other person's perspective, but I think as a like middle-aged, middle-class white dad, seeing that in your kid's phone in a year where everybody is trying to be the most woke, maybe instead of like, I'm assuming being in a household that is not often having these types of conversations, because they're like, you don't live around Blackness, and if the most conversation that you've had is to be accepting of people, and then you see something in your kid's phone, internet, whatever, that could be seen as racist and supporting the Holocaust or the genocide, or a genocide, I think the knee-jerk reaction is to be afraid that you've somehow screwed up, and that your kids have either flipped over to the other side or hanging out with kids that are supporting this, and therefore you've started to ingest content that is actually like hateful propaganda instead of just rap filled with things to raise clout and be interesting and to like move and shake. And if you're just like some white dude who doesn't know that like rappers are doing this all the time, because that is not in your wheelhouse of knowledge, I understand the like immediate panic, I guess. Because when I heard Lil Darkie, I was like, oh, that doesn't sound good. But I'm not a parent. I think I would take the approach you two said of being like, where did you find this? Listen to this. What do they sound like? And asking a lot of questions. But I'm also a Black person who knows that people do this thing, and that my question was first just like, is this a Black person who's allowed to be saying this? Like, I wanted more context.
He's as allowed as people give him the thing. That's what it comes.
Clinton?
And I will say kudos to the white dad who sought out more information regarding this topic. If he's listening, like, you're asking two Black dads what they would do about this. For a white dad talking to their white son, I mean, you really do got to take it in a bit of a different direction. You got to do a bit of research. Like, it's like, is my white kid allowed to say the N-word if a rapper says it, right? Like, the white dad, he's doing it like before he lets his kid get the Little Darkie t-shirt. He should find out how problematic this is. And, like, is his son going to be in any harm himself from listening to rapping the lyrics of, or promoting, like posting a picture of this guy on his social media? What kind of a lashback could a white child have from sharing this stuff on social media, and how could they possibly be attacked by the public? So yeah, kudos to the father for looking into this. Well, we would have different conversations with our kids than you might have with your kid. This is not an endorsement for you to tell your kid to be like, yeah, go to the Little Darkie concert and get the hat and all that stuff. So yeah, it's different perspectives as well.
I mean, shout out for the dad for being a dad. Like, talk to your kids. Like, again, talk to your kids. I mean, you don't like, when you don't know something, just talk to your kid like he did, and research, and Yeah.